side that has the 45, 45, 90s. You kind of need to have your notes out too from yesterday, because that's where it's going to tell you all your formulas. If you can't read it, this is an 8. We've got a 45 in this corner. It tells us that that's going to be a right angle. We're asked to find all the missing sides. So number 1, we know one side is 8, and we need to find the other 2. So our formulas on our notes, we've got 2 formulas. One says if you know the hypotenuse, or if you want to find the hypotenuse, you do something to the leg, or if you want to find a leg, you do something to the length of the hypotenuse. Okay? What are those 2 formulas we have for 45, 45, 90? What's the one? That's the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, short. No, that's the 30, 60, 90s. What about the 45, 45, 90s? Okay, hypotenuse equals a leg times the square root of 2. What's the other one? No. Leg equals, you don't have this one? If you need to know a leg and you know the hypotenuse, right, the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. So we'll use we only need 2 formulas for our 45, 45, 90s because we only have 2 different lengths. They're 45, 45, 90s. The legs are the same. So that's one value. And then you have the hypotenuse, which is your second value. Okay? So you only really need 2 formulas. If you know one, you find the other. If you know this one, you find that one. So we don't need a formula to find A. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, it's a 45, 45, 90. Then leg equals leg. There's a formula if you want one. So what's 8? 8. Those are the legs. Now the hypotenuse is B. So this formula right here tells me if I want to find the length of the hypotenuse, I take the length of a leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. The length of a leg is 8 times the square root of 2. And sometimes that's all you have to do. But let's go ahead and write it in radical form and the decimal form. So in your calculator, put 8 square root of 2. And let's round to the 10th place. What do we get? What was the second decimal number? 1. Or what did it do after the decimal? 3-1? Okay. So if it was 0.31, then we would look at the 1 and means I'm going to leave the 3 alone. So this is what you would need as your answer for B, and that's your answer for A. Let's look at number 2. This time we know the hypotenuse and we don't know either leg. Do we know it's a 45, 45, 90? How? Nope. That just tells me it's a 90. Okay. That tells me it's a isosceles. If it's isosceles and it's a right triangle, then it's a 45, 45, 90. A 45, 45, 90 is the only isosceles right triangle that there is. Okay? If it's isosceles, it's right, 45, 45, 90, and we follow all those rules. So, we need the length of a leg when we know the length of a hypotenuse. We pick. Yes, and that's fine for geniuses like you, but other people need to see the work. Okay? The leg, which you see, is going to be equal to the length of our hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. So what happens there is, when you have two things that are, you have common factors in the numerator and the denominator of a fraction, they reduce. Okay? So the 2's, square root of 2, will cancel each other out. So that means the leg length is simply 5. And if that one's 5, so is this. Let's do number 5. We know the length of one leg. Now usually our leg lengths, or up till now, our leg lengths were integers. But not anymore. This leg length happens to have a radical on it. It's fine. This one's going to be the same size. But my hypotenuse formula says the hypotenuse is equal to a leg times the square root of 2. My leg already has a square root of 2. That's another square root of 2. So 9 square root of 2 times a square root of 2. You can put that in the calculator to see what happens, but you need to know what happens. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which is just plain old 2. Okay? So our hypotenuse length is 18. Follow the formula. Plug in what you know to find what you need. We have a hypotenuse, and we need to know the lengths of the legs. Okay? Same formula as before. No, different. Leg is equal to the hypotenuse divided by square root of 2. So in this case, R is a leg. It's going to be equal to 10 divided by square root of 2. Now, we talked about yesterday, math gods aren't happy if there's a radical in the denominator. Okay, so what we do is we multiply by that radical that's in the denominator on top and bottom. Rationalizing the denominator is what this is called. It's something you're supposed to learn, but I'm sure most of you forgot. On top, 10 times square root of 2 is just 10 root 2. On bottom, square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. Learned that in the last problem. Now we need to reduce that. Because 10 and 2 reduce to 5 and 1. So this becomes just plain old 5 square root of 2. That's the length of one side, one leg. And the other leg is identical. I don't have to redo all of the work. Let's also do the decimal form. That way at least you'll get one of them, and you may not get it to this point. You may end up stopping here. But I'd rather you get to this point and also give the decimal. What's the decimal equivalent? Everybody get that? Make sure you know how to put that in the calculator. How long is the board? It's the length of the leg times the square root of 2. In decimal form, what would that be? 16.97. If you round to the tenths place, that 7 is going to bump that 9 to a 10, which is going to end up bumping 17.0. If you put 17.0, I'll know you were trying to round to the tenths place. It's like saying we use some thank you and yes ma'am and no ma'am. It's just kind of manners in math. All right. 30, 60, 90s. We have to make sure we know it's a 30, 60, 90. If that's 60, that's got to be 30. If you already have a 90 and you know one of them, then you'll know the other one. So if that's 60, the other one's 30. All of these are going to be 30, 60, 90s because that's what this triangle, this worksheet is about. So you don't have to assume or try to figure it out. It's pretty much a guaranteed on this worksheet, but not always on the test. So you need to double check. But we need to label short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Okay? Which one is the hypotenuse? 10, the one with the length of 10. Which one is going to be the long leg? I mean, it looks like it, yeah. The top, the leg. This is a leg. So this is the long leg. It's opposite to 60. So that means this has to be the short leg. It was opposite to 30. So then I have my formulas, and I got 3 formulas this time. The short leg is equal to the hypotenuse divided by 2, and the other way around. They're always half the length of each other, or double the length of each other. They're 1 to 2. Then we have our long leg is equal to the short leg times the square root of 3. Now, I can come up with one more if I want, or I can just use variations of these. What would I do to the hypotenuse? What would I do to the long leg to get the hypotenuse? Anybody know? All right, never mind. We'll come back to it later. But the hypotenuse is equal to short leg times 2. So we'll just make you find the short leg first. Go back. Is it 5? Oh, somebody said 2. Or did I just write that down? Daydreaming? Short leg is 5. Yeah, thinking about something else, I guess. And it's not square root 2, it's square root 3. I'll get it right eventually. Which is 8.7. Did you round right? He thinks he did. We know the short leg. This is the short. This is the hypotenuse. This is the long leg. You label that every time. Short leg is 8. How long is the hypotenuse? 16. long as the long leg. 8 square root of 3. Double checking. What about this one? We know the long leg. We don't know the short leg. And we don't know the hypotenuse. So how do we find the short leg when we know the long leg? That should be one of your formulas on your paper. Short is equal to the long divided by square root of 3. So short is equal to the long, which is 12, divided by square root of 3. In proper radical form, multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3. You're actually multiplying by 1. That becomes 12 square root of 3 over plain old 3, which becomes 4 square root of 3. The decimal form would be double check that. And we want people to be plugging that in the calculator. Okay. So then what about the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is the short leg times the square root of 2. I'm sorry, short leg times 2. So I need to take one of these, and I prefer you take this one and double it. Because all you'd have to do is 4 times 2, 8 square root of 3. And then you put that back in the calculator, and you probably get something like 13.459. Okay, 13 point, somebody said 8. Okay. But if you doubled that, you would get what? If you doubled this one, what would you get? 0.8. But if you double that and then put it in the calculator, you get 0.9. Because we lost some in rounding. This is more precise. This is more precise.